You cancel plans with a friend tonight. 4 words. I'm just tired. It feels true the second you type it, and your shoulders actually drop with relief. But before you typed a single letter, the decision was already made somewhere your conscious mind never got a vote in. The reason showed up late, dressed up as the cause. That's not a lie. It's something stranger than a lie. This is about the machinery in your head that manufactures reasons after the fact every single day and hands them to you as if they'd been there all along, waiting. And it's not just plans with a friend. It's the job you turned down and the one clean line you gave for turning it down. It's the argument with someone you love, where you were completely certain what set you off. It's the purchase you swore was practical and the opinion you swore you reached entirely on your own, untouched by anyone else's voice. It's the entire story you've built about your own life, year by year, convinced you know why you are the way you are. So, if the reason you're so sure of isn't the real one, what is? And how would you even notice if it changed underneath you, quietly, overnight? Start with your hand. In 1983, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet wired people up to a machine that reads electrical activity in the brain, then asked them to flick their wrist whenever they felt like it. No schedule, no reason required, just whenever the urge struck. Libet watched for a specific spike on the screen, what's now called the readiness potential, a burst of brain activity that shows up before you're even consciously aware you've decided anything. It appeared before people reported feeling the urge to move, not after, before. Your hand was already on its way before the part of you that thinks it's in charge knew a decision had been made. Libet asked participants to note the exact moment they felt the urge, using a fast-moving clock built specifically so their timing reports would be as precise as possible. The gap held up anyway. Later, researchers pushed it further still, showing brain activity that could predict a coming choice up to several seconds before the person felt anything like a decision at all. You felt a shadow of this yourself, that strange half-second where you've already said yes before you've finished deciding to, the word out of your mouth before the reasoning caught up to it. That's strange enough with something as small as a wrist. It gets stranger when the decision is your entire personality. In the 1960s and 70s, neuroscientist Michael Gazzaniga studied split-brain patients, people whose 2 brain hemispheres had been surgically separated to stop severe seizures, so the left and right sides could no longer talk to each other. He'd flash an instruction to only the right side of the brain, the side that can't produce speech. In one case, the instruction was simple: stand up and walk. The patient stood and walked. When Gazzaniga asked the talking half, the left side, why, it had no idea what the instruction had even been. It made something up anyway, something about wanting a soda from the kitchen, confidently, instantly, no hesitation, no confusion, no gap left visible in the story. In another version of the test, he showed a snowy scene to the silent right side and a chicken claw to the speaking left side, then asked the patient to point at related pictures. The hand controlled by the silent side pointed at a shovel for clearing snow. Asked why, the talking side had no idea about the snow at all. So, it explained the shovel by inventing a story about cleaning out a chicken coop. Gazzaniga called this storytelling system the interpreter, a module in your brain whose entire job is narrating your actions with a reason, whether or not it actually has access to the real one. Here's the part that should bother you. It never once admitted it had no idea. You don't need separated hemispheres for this to happen to you. In 1977, psychologists Richard Nisbett and Timothy Wilson laid identical pairs of stockings out on a table and asked shoppers to pick their favorite. Almost everyone favored whichever pair happened to sit furthest to the right, a plain position bias nobody was aware of having. But nobody said that when asked why. They talked about texture, weave, color, softness, quality, specific, confident reasons for choosing something that was, materially, identical to the pair sitting right beside it. When the researchers gently asked whether position might have mattered, people looked at them like the question made no sense, and a few got mildly offended at the suggestion. The brain didn't refuse to answer. It just answered with fiction that felt exactly like fact, and defended that fiction the moment it was questioned. It gets even more precise than that. In 2005, researchers Petter Johansson and Lars Hall ran an experiment with playing cards, 2 faces side by side, and a simple question: which one do you find more attractive? People pointed. The researcher handed them that card, face down, to hold. Except sometimes, using a magician's switch, it wasn't the card they'd actually picked. It was the other one, the face they had just rejected seconds earlier. Most people never noticed the swap, and when asked to explain why they'd chosen the face now sitting in their own hand, They explained it in detail: eye color, warmth, a vague sense of familiarity. None of it was true, because none of it was even their choice. The same research team later ran the trick with jam and tea, swapping flavors mid-taste behind a false bottom jar, and people defended flavors they hadn't actually tasted with the exact same total confidence. How many of your own reasons, this week alone, have already been quietly swapped on you without your noticing? The obvious conclusion here is a bleak one. If none of your reasons are real, then nothing about you is real either. That's the wrong ending, and the research itself points somewhere else. Neuroscientists studying patients whose interpreter system has been damaged don't find people who feel liberated by the truth. They find people who feel unmoored, unable to string their own actions into anything resembling a self, drifting between moments with no thread connecting them. Without something stitching your actions into one continuous story, you don't experience freedom. You experience fragments, an action here, an impulse there, no author connecting them, a self that keeps forgetting it's one person living one life across one continuous timeline. Patients with Korsakoff's syndrome, a memory disorder that leaves people unable to form new memories, show a related pattern. They'll still insist, moment to moment, on a tidy explanation for why they're sitting where they're sitting, even though the actual reason vanished from their mind minutes ago. The story-making never stops, even when the facts it's working from are gone. The interpreter isn't lying to trap you. It's the thing holding your identity together across tens of thousands of disconnected impulses a day, one invented reason at a time. And most days it does that job so smoothly, you never once think to question it, let alone catch it mid-sentence. Think about your last job interview. Someone asked why you wanted the role, and you answered smoothly. Growth, the mission, the team, the timing, feeling right. Somewhere underneath that answer, the actual reason might have been simpler and less flattering. You needed the money, you were bored. The office looked nice in the photos on the website. You didn't lie in that room. You just never had access to the real machinery running underneath the question, and neither did the version of you doing the talking. It happens again on a first date, when you're asked what you're looking for, and you offer a tidy paragraph you've clearly said before, one that sounds true because you've heard yourself say it so many times you've stopped checking it against anything real. Somewhere between the second and third date, you'll feel a pull toward one person over another, and by the time anyone asks you to explain it, your interpreter will already have a paragraph ready. Compatible values, good conversation, something in the eyes, built after the pull, not before it. It happens in the argument with someone you love, too, when you name the thing that supposedly set you off, certain of it, while the actual cause, something smaller, older, unrelated to tonight at all, maybe a bad night's sleep or a comment from 3 days ago that never got resolved, sits somewhere your interpreter never bothered to check before it started talking. None of that is dishonesty. It's every reason you've ever given anyone for anything, dressed in language assembled after the decision was already made and handed to you like it had been there from the very beginning, waiting patiently to be spoken the moment someone asked. So tonight, when you cancel those plans and type, "I'm just tired," let it stand. You don't have to chase down the real reason, because you may never fully reach it. The machinery doesn't leave a receipt. You're not lying. You never were. You're just watching the same machine that's been quietly running your whole life, writing the caption after the picture's already been taken.